All right, so welcome everyone to the small group demo. Today we're going to talk about the dynamic duo of Developer Hub and Automate and what you can do with them together. My name is Lo, and I'm the Senior Technical Product Marketing Manager here at Contentstack.
Can you say that
Tim, you
again
want
fast,
to?
please?
I can try. Senior Technical Product Marketing Manager.
Oh, this is the best title.
Yeah. Okay, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Tim Bennix, and I am in charge of developer experience, which is a lot easier to say. And in the end, I actually thought the dynamic duo was you and me. But let's keep it a developer hub and automate. That fits.
Yes, or it can be a double entendre, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Um, all right, so today in our small group demo, we've already done our intros. I'm going to give some quick background on what the Developer Hub is, what Automate is, and how they can work together. We'll do a quick example use case, and then we'll get into the live demo, and then we will finish everything off with Q&A.
Awesome. Let's do
So
this.
just a reminder, this is being recorded and we will share out the recording afterwards. And also, if you have any questions throughout the demo, please submit your questions and we will answer them at the end. All right, let's get going. So, Developer Hub and Automate. Let's first talk about the Developer Hub. What is it? Well, this is a place in Contentstack where you can build and manage your custom apps, right? So that means you can customize Contentstack, but also you can integrate third-party software or use it to extend the platform. And some of the great things about Developer Hub is we have some boilerplates, and you can start out with a generic boilerplate to help get you started. And you can tailor solutions like e-commerce or digital asset management systems like Cloudinary. Let's say you have an e-commerce or PIM like BigCommerce or Shopify. You can build a custom app to integrate that. You can also launch your apps on Contentstack Launch. Um, you can build custom apps for your organization, or you can open it up to share those with the wider Contentstack community, and your app can be featured in the marketplace, which is a curation of custom apps that you can use along with your organization or your stacks.
Yeah, you can do a lot of stuff with it. Like you
Yes.
can make like a custom field that looks at whatever your entry is and change some things or store something based on that, or you can make a sidebar widget, or like we've seen the most amazing things where people were
Yeah.
moving over from WordPress and they had like 50,000 articles. They didn't want to put them all in at once because it was kind of a lot and a little messy. So what they
Yeah.
decided to do is we just make you a dashboard widget, and you can choose which one you want to import today. You click on it, and it just puts it in Contentstack through an automation. And so you can whatever you can dream of, you can do a lot of things here.
Yes, you can do it. And so with that, we have some really awesome app SDKs, and it comes with some helper functions and utilities that you can use with the SDK to help you build your custom app. And okay, so that, and I think the last thing I really want to touch on for Developer Hub is we've touched on it a little bit, but you can extend your platform capabilities, right? So let's talk a little bit about the UI locations where you can use a custom app to extend.
Oh, I just
And
gave
I
this
want to,
away a second. Sorry about that.
yeah, it's okay. Um, I want to focus your attention particularly to two extensibility points. One is the full page app, and this allows you to sort of take an entire full page experience in the CMS for your custom app. This will also allow you to create an icon that will display in the CMS. And then the other one is the field modifier UI. So this is a really cool capability in terms of your ability to extend and customize entry fields. And you'll see a little bit later in the live demo where full page app locations and field modifier locations come into play. So that's pretty much it for Developer Hub. Now let's talk a little bit about Automate. So Automate is low or no code sort of workflow that you can use to integrate Contentstack with other pieces of software, third-party software. It allows you to sort of create these complex workflows and automate routine tasks. Um, and we'll get into in a little bit how these two things work together. So again, like I said, Automate helps you integrate apps and your tools. Some great things are when you go through the Automate setup process, you can choose a connector. And you have different options, like you can use a connector such as Contentstack Management, and that allows you to use Automate to create entries, update entries, add things to existing entries. You can also use the HTTP request, and that allows you really to pull in any kind of remote data from an outside source. You can also use Automate to help you do auto deploys using Contentstack Launch. There's lots of things you can do. You can also use it to grab data from your whatever your product inventory system is. There's so much that you can do. There are also sort of pre-built recipes available to you from Contentstack, and these are going to be a wide range of things. Let's say you want every time you update a content entry or a new content entry is made, maybe you want to have a Slack message or have an email sent out. You can use Automate to do this. And it can really help you sort of step up your sort of content workflow approval process as well. So you're probably thinking right now, that's great. We know about Developer Hub and Automate, but what can you do with this? So let's talk a little bit about that. Let's think about a particular use case of a science learning portal, right? Or a science knowledge base. And we're going to look at what happens when you combine Developer Hub with Automate and NASA. Who doesn't love NASA? Everybody loves space. And this picture you see down here, just FYI for our space enthusiasts, is a blue ring nebula. It is what occurs when two stars collide together, and these sort of cones of light extend out. And what is particularly cool about this is, as you see, it is like an eyeball, and it's similar to the way that your eye works. Anyway, that was just a quick space fact for you. But
Thank you
let's
for that. I
say
appreciate it.
you know I love space. So let's talk about sort of the world of NASA APIs. I don't know if you're aware, but NASA has a ton of open APIs that are accessible to anyone. They have a wide range of data that you can use, but they also have a massive image and video library. So let's say that you wanted to create a science learning portal, maybe for students. It could be that you even have sort of an e-commerce store that sells space-related merchandise and products like telescopes and other merch, and you want to have a blog where you give daily space facts. Well, with Developer Hub and Automate, you can pull in data from the NASA image and video library and create text entries like the one you see on that goes into how to measure the spin of a black hole. And all of this came from the NASA API. So you got the title, you got a brief description, and you have the image. So this is just a quick example of how you can power and extend your capabilities using Automate and Developer Hub. All
Awesome.
right, let's get into the live demo. So today we're going to show and discuss how you can integrate YouTube video content into your existing stack and have it work with the content you already have. So we're going to look at a custom YouTube app and also Automate and how they work together.
Awesome.
All
Let's
right,
try
Tim,
and do
you want
that.
to take it away?
So let's see if we can get my screen on the stage here. So I have shared it. Yes, there it is. So let me know if I need to
Yay!
zoom in. I think I can zoom in here. And so this is not exactly getting data from NASA, but it's the same concept as Lo just talked about because when you work at a place like Contentstack, you're going to use all the goodies. Like this is my way of learning what we sell and how we support. And so for my personal site, which I can quickly show you, so this is me. I'm a conference speaker and I do a bunch of video creation. And the interesting thing is when you look at your content nowadays, when you're a content creator or you might be a marketer, right? Your content can live in different places. Like for example, this image here comes from Cloudinary, but these videos they come from YouTube, and so YouTube is kind of my source of truth. But I still want to show it on my website, and so rather than doing an embed, I actually want to do more with it. I want to maybe make like nice lists like this, and I want to be able to search through it. And so, what I did is I made a custom app that can import a YouTube video, so I don't have to type all the stuff. Right? This is exactly what you would do with that NASA piece of content, right? And so, as you can see here on my left, there is a YouTube import, and there's also another one because I'm building a bunch of different apps. And so this is a YouTube import. As you can see, this is a full screen app. But this app could potentially also live here on my dashboard if you wanted to, or I can put it in a
Yes.
sidebar somewhere, right? You can add dashboard extension and just build one. And so, Lo, would you want me to maybe first run through it and show, hey, this is the magic, this is how it works, and then we dive in? Or should I maybe show first where do I create these apps, or like do we show the marketplace? What would you like to say?
I think first let's get into the two pieces, the custom app, and then we can go through how you configured your automate to
Yeah, sure.
pull in the videos.
Okay, so in that case, we'll just go through it because there is a YouTube video that Lo and I actually did like 9 days ago here. was a Content
Yes.
Stack live stream where we just talked about a bunch of cool stuff with one of our colleagues, Ashish. And so this video is part of my personal library, right? I've worked on this. So what I want to do is I want to grab this ID and I want this to be featured on my website. So I can go to my app and just say, well, let's paste that. And of course, this is a simple example. You could build a YouTube search here to just type, give me the content stack, whatever thing, right? And so when I hit fetch video here, so what I've built is that it actually now goes to YouTube with an API call that I built with my code. And if you really want to, we'll show that code. But I think for now, we'll stick a little bit on the surface. And so what you can see here is that there's a bunch of information here about the live stream. It says if there are any tags, you can choose them and select them, but this video doesn't have any. What we can do, by the way, let me just refresh my page and show you a video that has tags. Like this is set up by default. You see, this one has a bunch of tags. And so these are
Yes.
tags from YouTube. And so Content Stack also has tags, right? And so what I've built, um, if you actually change anything here, whatever data you change, this is the data that we're sending to automate to then make an entry in Content Stack. So when I change, let's say, the high graph tag, it just updated this list, right? Or let's remove Lighthouse, and it just updated this list, and this is what it's sending. But this video is already in my website. So let me just go back here and say, well, the subject is actually Content Stack live stream. So that just came up here.
Yep.
And so there's a few ways you can use to do in code basically to now add this to Content Stack, right? You can use the management SDK, or you can write a custom script, or you can do it with our CLI. There's a lot of stuff because we are it's a headless composable tool. You can do anything with it that you want. But what we like is to use automate, because automate is kind of low code. There's a bit of code involved if you want to, but it's so nice because you don't have to have all that complexity in your code base of how do I add an entry or update one or remove something. That's all done in automate. So when I now say I've selected this thing, I've selected, this is the content like live stream, let's import this. And so this data basically just, like, you don't have to put this in if you don't want to, but this kind of just says, hey, I just triggered something in automate. Something is happening right now. And so Without going to automate, I'll show you that we now have this live stream actually is as a video here, right? This just got added.
Yep.
This wasn't here before. And so when we open this up now, you can see, hey, this is the live stream. It's added, date when we streamed it, the description. It grabbed the poster image that came from YouTube. Then it set the video ID, the subject, and we didn't add any tag, so it didn't send that, right? And so this is also already saved and published because I decided to do that in Automate.
And
Sorry,
automate.
Lo,
And I
go ahead.
think what I really like in particular about using these two products together, Developer Hub and Automate, is that your video content, right, can stay as a single source of truth in YouTube. But let's say you pull this video in, right? It's a video of our previous live stream. Let's say you want
Yep.
it to be a different title on your personal website. You can still get the video content coming in and then change the title or the description to something else.
Yeah, I just did
So
that
it
here for
really
the
lets you
description, right? Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. Because
So it really lets you
yeah,
tailor.
and you can totally look at this the same as you would do with SEO sometimes, that the title tag that Google sees might be different than the title you put on your H1. Like this is
Exactly.
similar, right? And so we can now, this is like, let's say I wanted to import the same video again. You can then look in Automate, like, hey, does this thing exist? Let me do something else to it. Like there's a bunch of stuff you can do. And so let's just go to Automate to show you what actually happened here. Right, so here we go back to all my stacks, and then here I have Automate. And Automate also has like projects, right? So I have a bunch of projects I'm working on at the moment, but we'll go to Tim's Content Sync. And here I have YouTube to entry. You can make any sort of ones here. Like it can be, somebody types something in Slack, you listen to it, and then you put that in, some log somewhere. Like you can do
Right.
a lot with Automate that might not even be connected to Contentstack. It's basically Zapier on steroids. Can I say that? Is that? I'm not sure.
Well,
It,
you
it's.
already said
I
it.
already said it. I'm so European. I apologize. However, let's not say that. Let's just look at what this thing does. And so in Automate, you can set up different steps, and each step can do a thing. And a step can be conditional based on an input, or it can do an action, or it can loop over multiple things it got and then do actions for all of them. Like you can kind of just do whatever you want. And if you wanted to, you can also just write some code in it. And
Yes.
so let me just turn off this automation. So now I can
Yes.
edit it, right? So when we have a look, like we created something called an HTTP trigger. Um, and so basically what this means is if this URL gets called by something, in our case, our app, you can set up a bunch of data that you send to this. And then so this automation listens to that trigger. Like if this URL is called, this specific API automation runner, it will then do stuff. So you can see if we look at our execution log, you saw this is, December 19. This, of course, is my CET time zone. So when you look at that, you can see it did all those things. And that trigger has a bunch of information that's coming in. And this information came from our custom app. And it will then do stuff with that. And you see it creates an entry, it publishes. You can see all the things, and there's logging for everything. So when you now have a look at that, so we created that. And so what we wanted to do in this case is the data that I'm getting from this one is actually pretty good already, right? Because I made sure that the object that was sent to this trigger is already the way that Contentstack understands. If that's not the case yet, what you can potentially do is say, let's make an action step and, write some code. Like I could potentially say, my YouTube data, comes from my previous steps trigger and give me the body. And so now this input, so like YouTube, like input to YouTube, now has all the data that I'm getting from that first trigger. And then I can map it to whatever I want, send it to the next thing. Luckily, in this case, I don't have to do that. But this shows you how flexible this is. Like I can write any sort of code here to do whatever I want. I could write this whole automation in this plot block. Of course, we're not going to do that, but you could. right? And this comes in very handy sometimes. So let's
Yeah, and it
remove that.
looks like you're transforming upon creating the entry to
Yes,
make the title capitalized. Is that what's happening?
you could potentially
Or
do that, for example.
originally?
Yeah, if you wanted to. Right
Yeah,
now, though, I'm not. Like, because what I'm getting from my trigger here is already fully a good model that Contentstack
formatted.
understands.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's already formatted because I wrote that code myself, so I kind of knew what I was going to do. But if you get that information from a place like NASA, you might want to map that data and capitalize some things and make sure that Contentstack understands. And
right,
so here I'm creating an entry. Well, if you create an entry, you need to be able to, be allowed to create that entry. And so you can select a management account here that you can create inside your stack. And so Automate can actually be authenticated for you specifically for certain actions. And you see there's actually multiple accounts. Like I have one, I use two different ones because they actually have different rules of what they are allowed to do. And so I'm going to my timbennix.dev stack on my main branch. I'm going to create a video content type because I have a bunch more. Like I could also create like a page or a header or an FAQ or whatever. And then all the data that I need to create this thing is basically this body thing. Because what I get back, if you look at body, this, you can see that in the little pop up here, this is exactly what Content Stack wants to create a new thing.
I think.
And then I set it to English. And then, so once this is done, it actually can then publish that entry because by default, when you make something, it's not to the published state. Because imagine you create like 100 things because you have all these videos flying around. You might want to curate a little bit what's happening there. So that's why this is not directly published. And so in this publish action, you can choose a bunch of stuff again. You need to figure out your account, your branches, what environment, and like there's even other things like maybe this thing references a bunch of other data models. You can actually say, you know what, publish all those as well. But also, you might want to do this tomorrow. That you can
Right.
do that as well. Like all the things that the CMS offers are also offered here. And so maybe one thing I didn't show yet, like we just added that video, right?
Yeah.
Actually, the last step is to add that through Slack. And so it just published this, right? And so I'll show you in a second how that is done, and because this thing does a bunch more. Because the front end of my website is actually statically built, which means um, when I hit deploy, it builds all my pages and then it just uploads them. And we don't have to go too technical today, but because of that, if there's new content, it needs to rebuild. And so what I have after I've published this entry, it's telling our hosting service called Launch to rebuild my project. And so, because there's new information, let's build the new pages. And there's like I'm doing a bunch of different things. For example, this is now, and the next step is an HTTP request that goes to Algolia. I'm not sure if that's big enough to see here. And so Algolia is the search engine that I use to be able to find stuff on my website. Right. So when I
Yeah.
go to
So
my
then
web, sorry, go on.
it like recrawls your website, right?
Exactly. So if I now wanted to, like the way I find my videos or whatever, this is Algolia is my search essentially. And so I've set Algolia up in a way that it just acts like Google a little bit, right? It just has a spider and it goes to all my pages and it remembers what my pages were, and therefore you can search. And so, of course, when I have a new entry published, and there's a new build done with the new website, I want Algolia to, look at my new website and then update its search engine so we can, ask for a specific search again. So that's what this is doing. And then the final one is where we publish. Oh, that was not good. When we actually push this out to Slack. And so potentially what we can do here is like, you know what? I actually kind of want to see the video embedded in Slack. So what we could do is actually find, um, I think it's the video ID, right?
Yeah, or
Yeah,
either video URL,
yeah. Where
but it
do I
might be the
have
video
this?
ID.
I'm just trying to look where this is saved. Well, we can do this, for example, now.
The
Let's test
image.
this. Yeah, now I'm just putting, you see, I'm putting in this image now. So this is an interesting thing. Right now it's not activated, so I can edit, right? But I can actually test my action. So we just tested it. And so now, you see, it resent the same thing that we did before, but with the image this time. And so you
So
can kind of
cool.
just run over things a few times like, okay, so did this publish? Is this actually going to work? Oh, I can actually, take this stuff and actually say, you know what, let's test this thing. And so actually, I think now, because we're testing, we just created another entry. Let's say entries. You see, now it's there twice because we
Yep.
ran the test and you can just see if this works. Of course, you can build in that says, oh, but this already exists. I'm not going to do it now.
Right.
Right? You can do
You can build in the
conditional steps
logic.
as well. Yeah.
Exactly.
And so what I'm trying to do now in as many projects as possible that I do is I'm not going to code anything anymore. I'm going to do automate for all the things because why not? Because it's so much easier to kind of deal with automations here, right?
Yeah. And rather than using like middleware, for
Yeah,
instance, or
I could
something.
write some code to do this, no
Yeah.
problem. But then I need to have a developer to maintain it. What if there's no code access? There's all my API keys are in my code. What if it gets exposed? Like there's so much stuff there that feels like very normal to do, but if you don't have to do it, it's much nicer. Less code is always better, right?
Right. And it
And
means that anyone can do it, right? So not just a
oh
developer,
yeah,
because
totally.
there's this visual sort of graphic user interface workflow.
Exactly.
You don't have to be a developer to create an automation.
Totally. And of course, these automations, like I have another one here that I'm working on at the moment, which is like, I don't know, 12 steps of stuff with a ton of coding and uploading of data into like this actually, once you start understanding a little bit how it works, like if I had to code this, that would be like a ton of code. And now
Right.
it's just 12 steps plus a little bit of, JavaScript to upload something to Cloudinary. And, I'm here uploading a video that I get through URL. And like none of that I have to do. Like in here, for example, in this one, I'm actually getting a bunch of data in from my input and I model that so Contentstack understands it. And then I create it. And so you can do a ton of different things. And if you really wanted to dive deep in all the things you can do here, we have that live stream that we just added. I would suggest you watch this, where we see Ashish doing similar stuff here, but you can see
Yes.
here, he's like looping over stuff, and it's really cool. And Lo, we haven't even spoken about AI in this. Like, there's
Yes.
so much here.
There's so much you can do. And like one of the really cool things I think is like Automate in particular can help you with your sort of if you have a content approval process, right? So maybe you have a
Yeah.
situation when a post or page, any kind of entry is put in. Maybe you want to publish that to a staging or development environment first and have it looked over and then promote or use release to promote it to an actual production state, right? Like you can
Yeah.
use Automate to help you with that sort of content workflow process. We can do like feel free to join the community. There's other folks in there. We're also in there. Other people from Contentstack are in there. We're all helping out answer questions. You can drop things you're working on that you're willing to share, or if you have any specific questions about something you're trying to build, we can sort of all crowdsource and come together and help each other out.
Awesome. That was the perfect CTA. I couldn't do it like that, so that's why I asked you. Thank you so much, everyone, and we'll see you in the next iteration of this one. Cheers.
Bye, everyone.